We delay the start of our regularly scheduled program to bring you this NBC News special report.
In America.
Good evening. The President has just gone to bed, and we are about to show a wrap-up of some of the highlights of President Carter's messages of the last 2 months. Peter Fend.
The news conference room was subdued as the President entered, for reasons, of course, of the impending possible nuclear holocaust, which we have now, of course, experienced. I am reporting now from the basement of the special newsroom prepared for such emergencies, and I am further asking for all Americans who are able to see television to consider the excerpts we will now show as an inspiration for us in this time of national emergency for some of the counteraction by the Soviet Union. The situation is undefined at present. We do hold the oil fields of Iran, however, a great consolation to our energy industry, I'm sure. The question now is to remind ourselves of what President Carter had most importantly stated in previous recent addresses.
And with patriotism and with hard work, we can move forward together as Americans, telling the truth, to work together to overcome our dangerous overdependence on foreign oil.
We have successfully worked together to overcome that dangerous overdependence on foreign oil by assuring that the oil, at least in Iran and throughout the Persian Gulf, would be our oil. The military action was, in fact, successful. The entire Persian Gulf area is occupied by American troops. While it is true that we have suffered some losses here in the continental United States, it is also true that we no longer have any dangerous overdependence. We have worked together, and we are grateful to President Carter for inspiring us to that great action.
Here, I wonder what you think. I believe that Congress and the American people have enough judgment to know that you can't get something for nothing, that there is no free lunch involved.
We can be glad that we have survived the test of the sacrifice. We have lost a number of cities such as Chicago and Denver, but these losses are minor compared to the great gains we have made in the acquisition of oil properties. We got something, we had to pay something, but it was not a free lunch.
So they came in like this, thrusting into here, thrusting into there, taking that territory. We had occupied that, but over a period of time, there was the complete denial by the people who lived in this whole basin, which is the Arabian Sea basin or the Persian Gulf basin. The people here denied the right of anyone to have the oil there. So they just cut off the oil fields, and they moved from there to having no oil for anyone in the West. What happened then? Japan needed oil. Japan had to do something desperately. Japan was hoping to explore oil with China, but it could not act so. So, it looked to Alaska. Alaska over here. Oil. Japan needed oil. Couldn't get oil in the Persian Gulf. Oil. Cook Inlet. It couldn't get oil in the Persian Gulf. Japan, right over here. Japan, China. China and Japan said, well, let's have a greater East Asian co-prosperity sphere. Let's go into that which extends beyond the archipelago. Let's extend into the Sea of Okhotsk, into the Bering Sea, into Alaska, into the Yukon. And as we do that, as we think that perhaps the United States might be objecting, we will then invade the Soviet Union. We will invade both the United States and the Soviet Union, China and Japan together. So, Japan, China, they form a consortium. They say that they want the Amur River. They say that they want that territory. They say they want this territory. They say they want this whole Sea of Okhotsk basin. They say they want even Siberia, so they rush right into the Arctic Sea. They take over the Yukon Valley. They take over the Beaufort Sea. They take over the Bering Sea. They take over the whole Alaskan current, all the way as it stretches down to what used to be the Russian territory, down here in the northwest part of the United States. So Japan extends its grip through the whole water circulation as it rushes from around San Francisco, up past Alaska, beyond Alaska, into the Bering Sea, and into, of course, Tokyo. World War II was being reenacted. We didn't have no need for World War III. There was a seizure by the Muslims of their own destiny. The Muslims went into this area, they went into this area, they went into this area, in each of these respective little basins. And they said, these are ours. We can have autonomy here. We do not really need to rely on superpowers to extract minerals from us that will deplete our resources and that will very possibly jeopardize our lives. We do not need to have political states. So they started rushing to here, they rushed in through here, and they simply claimed all this basin, this Persian basin, as their own. Meanwhile, in Europe, what were the Europeans to do? The Europeans had no oil from the Middle East either. There was a power called Libya. Libya was expansionist. Libya chose to move into here, is to take up part of Algeria, take up a good part of Egypt. What pretext might it have? In Geneva, a pretext. The UN Regional Seas Commission of the UN Environmental Program. This pretext said, okay, it is possible, it is reasonable to make the entire Mediterranean basin a single unit. I can extend all the way across here beyond the map and say, all the way down to Lake Victoria, through the Nile Valley, into the Sahara Desert, through the mountains of the Sahara Desert. All of this can be a single unit, including Catalonia in Spain, including the Rhone Valley in France, including the Po Valley in Italy. All of this can be a single unit, including, of course, part of Israel. Now we remember that the U.S. action in Saudi Arabia, which had initiated this whole conflict, the U.S. protective reaction in Saudi Arabia, which had initiated this whole conflict, was seconded by the Israelis. The Arabs, of course, had their vengeance because they simply cut Israel in half and allowed only part of what was Israel to flow, that which flowed into the Mediterranean, to remain. And it became part of a consortium, the whole Mediterranean consortium, confederacy, which could no longer exist. It could no longer exist as a nation state. The confederacy, the consortium took over. So what became of the rest of Europe? What became of the west of Europe? Had it with being a pawn of either the Soviet Union or the United States. And Germany had also had it without having its ambitions for Lebensraum fulfilled. So Germany said, well, we've always aspired to fill the entire North Sea basin. We've always aspired to, as with the Anglo-Saxons, to conquer England. We've always aspired to have that northern part of France. We've always aspired to take over Sudetenland. We've always aspired to then reach via Bavaria and Austria and Hungary, all the way down to the Black Sea basin, beyond into the Ukraine and the Crimea. And they have, furthermore, had always aspired to reach, as they did in 1240 AD, as they did in 1942, as they did in 1666 with the Teutonic Knights. They had aspired to reach throughout the entire Baltic Sea basin in collaboration perhaps with the Swedes, to take over the entire Baltic Sea basin as it stretched all the way up here. These cities that were completely denying the right to freedom from toil, to freedom from mere obeisance, to freedom from authority. And these cities had led the people to just move in droves and droves to the far beautiful paradisical regions of the United States and to destroy those paradisical regions. Those cities were created, of course, by the whole idea of fossil fuels, of stored up, pent-up energies, of somehow pulling things out of the ground and wrenching them apart. Exactly what John Milton was so upset about in his Paradise Lost, where he's just ripping into mining, saying, why do we have to rip into the soil? That's exactly what made the American Indians so upset when they saw the white man come along and till the soil.
I don't know about politics. I just know what happened.
Okay, we're going to do something. The United States breaks down, as the Soviet Union did.